This is a 1983 Honda Acty Street L. It is an early 80s Honda K-van that I imported from Japan. I am the second owner. It has a 2-cylinder, 550cc engine, mid-mounted just in front of the rear wheels. It has a 5-speed manual transmission. It is rear-wheel drive, and it also has air conditioning. And everything is functional, and it's 100% stock and all original. Has not been restored in any way, although it has been repainted once, at least at some point in its past, because whoever repainted it didn't tape off the rubber trim on the door over there, which you'll see. It does have added aftermarket fog lights. Those are not a part of the vehicle itself when it was new. And otherwise, it's complete. As you can see, it is very early 80s Honda, which makes sense since that's where it's from. This is a first generation Acty, and it's the first time that we got anything like the Street. The Street being the passenger-oriented version of the Acty van. These did come in 4-wheel drive flavor as well, which will look extremely similar to this, except usually the stripe here, instead of being red, it'll be like a kind of a yellow to orange. It'll be much higher, and I think it kind of throws the proportions off. I know it's the size of a shoebox, but the 4-wheel drive one gets lifted, and it just seems a little more gangly. It's probably a much better vehicle, simply because it's 4-wheel drive and that much more desirable. However, on looks, I do appreciate this one, and I'm not just saying that because I have one sitting in front of me. These seem to be respected in Japan. They have to be extremely rare in the United States. I know that's a thing everybody likes to say, but in this case, I think it's valid. I would not be surprised if there was more AZ1 AutoZams in the U.S. than there were first-generation Acty vans. Maybe not trucks. Anyway. So it's awesome looking. It has little chrome embellishments. It's very much of the 70s in its design. Has old Honda logos over it. It's got these kind of goofy bars that are just molded into the side and the rear here. It has one giant white Honda monoflap on the back, which is the third mud flap back here, because as you can see, you have the old Honda wheels, old Honda logo, really old, on the flaps behind every rear wheel. Even the fronts have it. This is an older style Honda nameplate logo, which they still use, but this is more at home on motorcycles and things as opposed to a car. This has a 2-cylinder engine, which is half of a cylinder bank of a Honda Goldwing 1000. So the Honda Goldwing has an opposed 4-cylinder, so it has 2 cylinders on each side, and they oppose each other like this in a flat configuration. They lopped 2 of the cylinders off, so it sits up like this, so the cylinders go like this, sort of back here. It's an extremely small engine, probably running off of 25 horsepower, maybe. It's really small and really light, though, so it's not as slow as you'd think. It is slow. And I reviewed an 83 Hi-Jet, which only had something like 25,000 miles on it. This has about 75,000 miles. It has 119,000 kilometers. It's got a 5-digit odometer, but it's rolled over at least once. This is so much more nicer to drive than that Hi-Jet was, even though the Hi-Jet had far fewer miles on it. The Hi-Jet was a very industrial, very commercial-like vehicle, whereas this one is quite comfortable, and I'd argue that this is a softer and smoother ride than this 1990 here, which also has about the same amount of miles on it. As you can see back here, we've got 2 fillers. That one's the fuel. This one is the oil. Because the engine is in the back here underneath the panel with 4 bolts, it's not as easy as just pulling a lever and popping the hood. So much like the 90 over there, this is where you fill in the oil if you need to, and the dipstick is right here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see, but it's right here. Just conventional oil. There's nothing special about the engine itself. besides being really small and half of a motorcycle engine. It has the windshield washer fluid just on the front of the van here in a tube. So that's where it has to go. Fog lights work. They are in a separate switch, so there's just a switch on the inside that was mounted, and you flip it, they turn on. It doesn't care what the rest of the system is doing. Has 10-inch wheels, and they're new tires, and I also have the original wheel covers that go with this, except this rear one here was cracked, and they were kind of natty and beat up. I still have them, but I just took them off because I think this is a nice look. I did the same thing with this one over there. Dual sliding doors on either side, super common. In fact, I think it's kind of a requirement if you're going to have a K-van. I've never seen one that doesn't have dual sliding doors. Right-hand drive. 5-speed manual, I think I said that already. And I already said it has air conditioning. And it's just pretty comfortable. And I mean, if you look at it, it's just, it's pretty neat looking. You have, I'll do it over on this side. You have these neat details like this street stripe here. So this is, in here, this is just negative space. There's nothing here. So this decal itself is just the red, which fades into black. But this is just the paint underneath. So this must have been reapplied when they repainted it. And they repainted it because you can see right here, they got some of the silver paint on this rubber seal up here. So I don't know why they repainted it. Probably just because it needed it, and it was probably done a while ago, because there's a bunch of nicks and stuff that have been there for a while since it's been repainted. Being a one-owner vehicle, it's worn and well used, but it was loved. Just in the mechanical condition, just in the fact that it's not beat up. They just used it a lot, and all the wear patterns are from that sort of use as opposed to being abused. I guess that's pretty much it for the outside. I mean, it's a cave van, and if you've watched or seen any of these in real life, it's really similar to that. It also has a dent right here. You can sort of see it. But there's nothing inherently different about it in that way besides the way it looks and it being a much earlier version than the kinds that you'll see now, which are usually into the 90s. Special mentions for this sticker back here. It's Acty Street L. There was a version with a sunroof. I don't know if it was a Street L or Street G or any of that sort of stuff, because this one was a Street G, and it was available in the Street L, which was the higher model that had a sunroof. This being a Street L with the sunroof, without the sunroof, I don't know what the difference is between them. Anyway, this little triangle here is reflective like a bicycle reflector. So at night, this little triangle does that iridescent sort of reflection. Got both of these lights, light up the license plate. Right here, it would say 350 kilograms as the weight limit, which is 100 more kilograms than that one. Go figure, even though that one has a 660cc versus this 550cc. 5-speed, because they're proud of it. Not really much else as far as those little details go. The Acty Street logo up here. Japan requires a front plate, that's why that's there, although I'm in Florida, it doesn't require one. I do have this neat, in the shape of the old Honda logo, this is just the H, and then it says, "Okay, Honda." Other than that, it's just really neat looking. So let's see inside. It's pretty warm here, so I'm just going to open up everything. Oh, and it does have these aluminum, maybe even stainless steel, window guard things, and they look nice because there's little splashes of chrome everywhere else, so it doesn't stand out. Let's jump straight into the driver's seat. As you can see, it has a red or maroon, blue, and off-white herringbone knitted interior. And like I said earlier, this is all original and has not been redone at all, and as I point things out, you'll see So this is the driver's seat. It's in pretty good shape. And if you ever look at auction sheets, sometimes they'll say the seat is sunk. And what they mean by that is the padding has collapsed in some sort of way. So as you'll see right here, if you compare these two, see how this one is a normal seat and, you know, there's nothing special about it. See how this one has a divot here and the fabric is just kind of hanging above the top? It's because this is sunk. So there isn't any damage or tearing to it, it's just the fabric itself, after however long this car has had an ass in it, has crushed this little bolster over here. This is what they mean when they say the seat is sunk. This part is okay, where you actually sit, it's just the bolsters. And then right here is another part that got sunk. And because of that, you'll see this hole. It's not a cigarette burn or a tear or cut or anything, although this does show you the structure of the fabric, that this is an actual knit pattern out of individual fibers. But because of the foam was collapsed, it exposed this metal spring here, which has then cut the fabric from the other side, which is where this comes from. It also has a stitching tear right here, so the fabric isn't torn, just the stitching line that stitches this piping to this other line of fabric here. Back is in perfect shape, headrest is in perfect shape. This was really dirty when I got it, like everything I get. Passenger seat is much nicer, isn't collapsed in any way. Whoever owned this probably just drove alone. Again, the back is good. And the rear here, same thing, these seats are perfect. No collapsing, no tears, no cuts, no stains. The condition of the vehicle is really good. There isn't any rust, corrosion, or body rot anywhere on it. You've probably noticed that already. Here, the wheel wells. You can see this is just the metal stamped. No corrosion, no crusting, no rust. It's just how it is. Here's the door card, same fabric. A little more worn than normal because where the hand is when you're driving this thing and just living with it. Red vinyl, the herringbone pattern, and then this red maroon sort of color all the way inside. And by now, if you know anything about JDM vehicles, nothing is different as far as the shift pattern or the pedal layout or any of that sort of stuff. Just the turn signal stock is usually switched onto the other side. So this has a 5-speed manual. You have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then towards you and back is reverse, and there's no, you don't have to press or lift or press a button or anything. You can just go straight into reverse. There's nothing different about it. It'll fucking scream at you if you try to do it when you're rolling forward though. Stock AM radio, which works just fine. It did have a Toyota FM radio just bolted underneath because it didn't come with it. I took it out because the United States and Japan use different FM frequencies, so it wasn't useful anyway, and besides it was a little weird seeing Toyota in a Honda. It does have air conditioning here, as you can see, so to turn it on you just make sure this knob is all the way over, have it in AC, cold, then you pull the fan out. Right here you can see this is a power keeper button. I'm not exactly sure what it does for real. All I do know is that when I have it on normal, the air conditioning system affects the engine much more than when the power keeper is in the on position. You got to remember we're working with 20, maybe 25 horsepower, and this air conditioning system, which is from the 80s, works, but that sucks a lot of power from the system. So when this kicks on, you can feel the compressor kick on, you can hear it, and it affects everything. So I'm guessing this power keeper just limits how much it can actually pull from the engine, so I usually just keep it in this position. This was a non-smoker's vehicle, as you can see. It was never used, and it didn't smell like smoke either, it just smelled like an old car. Ashtray is clean. Have that little stem cap in there, alright. Only 2 vents for the face here, and I think normally this would have a clock, but this one does not. One single mono speaker up top here. Horn in the center, which works. Windshield washers. You pull it to fire off the washers themselves, and then it's just standard. rear wiper is a toggle, so you press it in, how it sits in, then the wiper runs, press it again, wiper stops. This is the wash fluid, so you just press it and it goes. This is the rear window defroster, which is a pretty big option back there. This is a sub heater, not exactly sure what that does, but never had to use it, but it's here. Here's your fuse panel. In contrast to the 83 Hi-Jet that I had, this does have power brakes. So this is the master cylinder back here. Here's the booster. Both sides of this van have these little vents here. All this is a little vent that allows air from behind the headlights to vent into the system, or into the van, apologies. Which is really nice, and the passenger has it over there too. The 83 Hi-Jet also had that. Gas, brake, pedal. It's got four-wheel drums, by the way. No disc brakes in here. This center stack portion right here is a part of the air conditioning system. So this little box, in here the air conditioning blasts in. So I guess the idea is you can put like something you want to keep cool in there, or drinks or something, to have the system just blast AC on it directly. I've seen other imports, usually like Delicas and Light Aces and stuff, that'll have a system like this, but it'll say cool box on it. That's the idea, anyway. It's pretty comfortable. Like I've said before in other videos of mine, I'm 5'10", and it feels like it's meant for me. There was a gentleman who was about 5'11", maybe 6 feet, who also fit in here. He seemed a little uncomfortable, but he was enjoying himself. So if you're quite tall, you're not going to be comfortable in here. But anything is possible. Go to the passenger side. Passenger side's very similar to the driver's side, you just have no controls. Get a bit more space. It's fairly comfortable. And on the door here, you can see the quality of it and the lack of rust. The door panel, it's pretty nice. This was pretty dirty, probably among the dirtiest of the cars that I've imported so far. So this headliner here is supposed to be a white as opposed to this dirt off-white. And this fabric is like the absorbent pad on a Band-Aid. So there's few ways to clean it without damaging it. So the best we could have done, the best we did, is just lightly vacuum it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get it clean. At least it's not stained in any way. It's like a universal sort of dinge. I mentioned earlier that this was a one-owner car, and let me show you what I mean by that. So in here, I have original insurance cards, warranty cards from Honda. This is the transport sheet that I got. And I'm not quite sure what these are, but it's super neat to have. And then this stack right here are inspection and maintenance reports from the entire ownership that the person who had this before had. It's just stack after stack of these reports. And it's just super neat to have. So a lot of people like to say that it's a one-owner car for just different various things, but this one truly is. And you know, here's the proof. It's got a decent sized glove box, so that's nice. Let's go in the back. So like I said, I'm 5'10", and the back seat is not nearly as comfortable as the front, especially if the driver's gonna have the seat all the way back, and if he's of a normal height, then he probably will because it's comfortable, or she. This wouldn't be terrible to kind of put around town in if you had like friends or whatever with you, but I would not want to stay in this for any length of time, more than like a half hour, so it's just, there's no space. You have your ashtray back here, because everybody smoked in the 80s. That's pretty much it on that end, so let's fold the seats. So in this Acty, the seats fold all the way flat on the floor. During this time, the seats don't fold forward, instead, or they fold forward, but they don't fold into the ground. Into the ground, like the other one. But you still get quite a bit of space. And as you can see, you get that same herringbone pattern on the panels back here, which is pretty nice embellishment if you ask me, considering this is probably just going to be used for cargo. They've held up though, so whoever had this before was using it as a personal vehicle and definitely not a commercial one because of the lack of damage that's back there. These are the original floor mats, and as you can see, the driver's mat is quite worn. They tried repairing the tears and everything, and so I just took it out. This is the other one, the passenger side, which is in a much nicer condition. And you'll notice too, see how we've only got the little bit of Honda right here, and it's cut. It's because this was meant for the non-air conditioning based system. So if we go back to the front here, that mat is supposed to go all the way across the floor, but it can't because the air conditioner was here. So they cut out the center in order to get it to fit, because well, this prevents the mat from going all the way over. And that's why you only got the ass end of the Honda on this side, because it was supposed to be in the center. And this is the rear. As you can see, you get the full old Honda logo. This one's in pretty good shape. It's got a tear right here. But otherwise, the most major of issues this has is this window here. It's plexiglass. So at some point, the previous owner, it wasn't me, broke this, and instead of replacing it with a piece of glass, they just put in a piece of plexiglass. So it works and it seals everything, but it's definitely not original. This one, piece of glass. I'll put these seats back down. So yeah, this is the coolant reservoir. The radiator, in the 1990, they moved it directly to the front. In this one though, it's basically lined up with the rear of the front seats. So you have a little small radiator that's in the center tunnel here. This is how you refill and check the coolant level in your radiator, which is extremely similar to that one over there. It's just this little bottle here. You unscrew this, slide this out, and you can pull it out and fill it and drain it and whatever. More to talk about the running condition of this. It has no issues, runs perfectly, starts right up. Doesn't overheat, doesn't burn, leak anything. It was very well maintained by the person who owned it before. And now we get to enjoy it. So yeah, I'm going to take it for a drive and we'll see how it handles. Alright, so ready to take it for a drive. This actually came with two different keys. This is the ignition key, and this is unlocking all the doors and everything else that is not the ignition. I don't know why it's like that, but it is. I'm also trying something else. I've got another GoPro up there. Somebody asked me about seeing the shifting and what it was like to actually drive, so give it a shot and we'll see. Just want to see what it's like to shift and the movement in that way. Alright, so it hasn't been running, and it does have a manual choke. So right here, generally I pull it out 2 times to get it started. And then I'll push it down into 1, and then as I'm driving and it warms up, I'll push it all the way in. Okay. There we go. Does not have power steering. But you've got 10-inch wheels and you weigh nothing, so. A click, that's the clutch pedal hitting its impact plate on the bottom. Could put a piece of rubber or something there to not have the click, but you will be hearing that the whole time. I'll try to make a point to not bottom out on the clutch, but I want to shift properly. Like all my K vehicles, or at least K vans and trucks, I don't take them on the interstate, although there's nothing legally stopping you from doing it. It's just something I'd really rather not do. I don't know how busy Ringling will be, but we'll see. Not fast. Don't like attention from other people on the road, you can't have this. I know I say that about everything that's in import because it's just different, so people naturally look. This though, the Hijet got a lot of attention because it was small and yellow and weird. This is small, silver and weird with a bitchin' red stripe on the side, and it says Honda. So there's a familiarity to it that people identify with, and then they want to be like, well, what's this weird thing I've never seen before? Sometimes people get weird and say, oh, I remember those. It's like, no, you don't. Not unless they've been to Japan. Most haven't. We'll sneak through this way. I said earlier it has 4-wheel drums, but they're power assisted. So it just feels like normal when you stop. There's nothing weird about them. There's a lot of weird rattles and things. I just attribute that to it being a very old Honda. It's probably never meant to last this long. Or be in service this long, I should say. But it is. And we're getting up to temperature now. So at the stop sign, I'll push in the choke. There it goes. It gets phenomenal gas mileage. I'm always ringing it out, so I get mid-40s. And I mentioned this earlier when we were doing the walk around, but this is a very compliant suspension. It's floaty, it's not like some sort of taut sports car, but the amount of travel it has, it's just a lot. It's more comfortable than the 1990 Acty, which seems really odd to me. But what do I know? As you probably noticed, no trouble keeping up with things or driving in traffic or any of that sort of stuff. Granted, we're just inside residential sort of streets, but still nothing. Clutch is good, transmission bites well. Your light screen. Got to be up in the dash or something. I don't even know if you guys can hear it on camera, but since I'm sitting here, trying to think of things to say, I notice it more. decide to go? What? Come out. Alright, fine. Now you can't come out. So the video will probably be cutting in and out because who the hell wants to sit and watch me wait in traffic? Nobody. supposed to be uphill. I gotta use this hill, it's the only one here. Sarasota's super flat. And we'll hear the speed alarm shortly. There it is. You can really feel it in this one. The incline. Still does it though. Turning around right here. Didn't want to go down to the circle. Way too much traffic. The turning radius is super good, as you'd expect. Uphill, but it is a struggle. Still hit the speed alarm though. The speed alarm still goes even if you're just rolling. Not gonna find out today, but beat this truck pulling a trailer. Let's see. Race him. Gotta start. Yes. See, she got to where it counts. Going too fast. And this actually never feels like unstable or wallowy or weird. Just want to make it clear that it's not some sort of speed demon, but it feels stable for as tiny as its wheels are and for as small as it is. Like all the other K cars and vans and stuff that I've driven, it's absolutely perfect for what people use a car most for, which is putting around town, driving it around, not hitting 70 miles per hour. Bubbles. This terrible speed bump, these are the worst ones. See how this one takes it. A little harsh, but fair. And as you can see, it runs perfectly. No sputters, no stops, doesn't overheat. Been very well maintained. Well, you don't have to slow down that much, dude. Didn't need to drop to second. I should have stayed in third for that one. You know, I don't really think that helps much. Driving with one wheel off the speed bump. Take a little side strip down the other end of my street, the much nicer end. I landed the hidden stop signs. Here. Look how tight the turning radius is. Got it locked to the left. It's really good. And like the Hi-Jet, there's no RPM gauge, so you get shift indicators. That was me hitting a branch. So between 1 and 20 kilometers an hour, you should be in first. Well, I guess that'd be like 25. I don't know, either way. You just get numbers indicated on your speedometer about what gear you should be in. It ends at 3, and I've got a 5-speed though, so I guess they're just like, well, we've made it this far. Stop straight. Doesn't pull either way when you're driving down the road. I don't know if you've seen or noticed, but alignment is good. Over that sort of stuff, like little rivets and bumps and stuff in the road. See how fast we can take this. Not a problem. Let's do it again. Easy. I suppose there's really not much left to say. I'm gonna head back home now. But yeah, I mean, it's a car. It's just a really tiny Honda van. But there's nothing special or unique about it as far as how it functions, what it's like to drive around on our roads, or any of that sort of stuff. Even for being as old as it is, even for it being as underpowered as it's supposed to be. It's super dangerous, so you wouldn't want to get in an accident with this. Probably more so than the 91. Here by the school has some huge speed bumps, so we'll go over those. There we go. Oh damn. Light doesn't last long, so I gotta get to it. Don't go, you dumb motherfucker. K vehicles like this aren't for everybody, but they're for a lot more people than you'd think. If people got over driving something weird and standing out, which is odd. I don't know why everybody wants to blend in so bad all the time. And a lot of other people will say, oh, how do you drive on the right hand side? Like you do on the left hand side. But again, not really for everybody. And that's fine. I sure like them. But I live in a beachy sort of town. I don't have to commute everywhere, so, you know, I've got my biases. be as fun to watch it actually be driven, because it's an automatic and it's a grandpa car. That's pretty nice. And then I've got a 1990 four-wheel drive Toyota Light Ace, which is a late 80s in design four-wheel drive minivan essentially. So that'll be cool. Then I got a couple Land Cruisers also. J70 series. One's a Prado, so not like a real Land Cruiser, but those are four-wheel drive, diesel, one's turbo, one's a 5-cylinder, 5-speed manual, 2-door, short wheelbase. It's kind of like a Toyota Land Cruiser Jeep. And I'm looking forward to those, and those will be here this month. It's March. So if you're looking for something like this, like an older K vehicle, perfectly capable of living with them. The trucks are a lot easier to find than the vans. This is the only one I've ever seen for sale anyway. I've seen a couple of the high jets, one of them I bought. Sort of see earlier Subarus and Suzukis more than I see the Hondas, but who knows? I have to imagine the trucks would be really similar to this. Might not be as soft though, as far as the suspension, because again, this is meant for passenger use as opposed to a truck, which is just commercial. So it might not be as comfortable, but as far as like speed and everything, it should be perfectly fine. So yeah, hopefully that was informative. All right, still open. Pull it back into its spot.